We've got to keep moving, Raz. Are you up for it?
Yeah. The pain's past for now. Let's get going.
It's amazing how he's pulling through. To resist the ARNA virus that normally has an instantaneous transformation period? Well, I suppose I should be pleased after all our work. It looks like Raz might be our first successful subject.
Millie?
Right, Raz, I'm here.
This is no time for daydreaming. Let's go.
I'm right with you, Raz. Still, I've got to find a way to clear the virus from his system. I don't care about the project. It's not worth the price of losing him.
So it's definitely a mixed bag for Raz. I mean, there's the encroaching virus taking over his body, and there's also the inherent treachery that seems to be present in good old Millie here that thankfully he is blissfully unaware of. And to make matters worse, there is that shadowy figure that seemingly wants him dead. Yeah, just things are not looking up too much for old Raz here. But I guess things are at least looking up for us because, yeah, I think we are over halfway through the facility at this point, now that we're on basement floor 2. And that means we're going to have a whole lot of new exploration to deal with. Now, we have some familiar looking environmental textures here. We have up to 3 ways to go, though the central path here, I don't know if I'm really wanting to tangle with these laser tripwires just yet. They seem like they might be pretty dangerous. So I guess we could probably check down these other 2 pathways first. Let's see what's through here. No, it's no good. We're going to need a new key card, because I think the current 2 that we have right now, neither of those will work on this particular door. So we definitely want to keep an eye out for that. And down the opposing pathway here. It's definitely an unusual sound considering our setting. Seems like the sounds of rushing water are coming from somewhere. And, well, the floor texture here is a bit strange. It seems like maybe the sound is coming from underneath the grating. So we probably want to take a closer look.
What is that down there?
Can you grab it?
Not unless we bust through the floor.
Yeah, I vaguely remember as a kid having a lot of trouble finding this particular item. I understand that the water is supposed to draw your attention, that something is strange in this area, but yeah, it wouldn't have really struck me, and even now it's a bit strange to me that they expect you to, just check that one particular area of the grating there. Still, I do appreciate that even with those reused textures outside, they try to do something a little bit different with what I'm assuming to be something of another lounge area. I think we saw one on the very first floor, but this one seems to have quite a bit of interesting decor, especially this large painting here on the wall. In fact, this large painting is signed by a pretty interesting person. Rekka. I wonder who that could be. I'm sure you're able to guess who that is. It's Raz Carsey. Though he doesn't seem to recall having painted that. That's fine. But the other thing we want to get over here in this corner is a gun clip. Yeah, we haven't really had too much use for the gun up to this point. Though I really want to recommend that you, if you're playing this yourself for some inexplicable reason, that you do really hoard the bullets as much as possible.
Lystra Laboratory.
Also, we get probably our first and only real map of the game here. You can tell that we are in that blue lit up room. There is the locked room off to the side. There is some strange L-shaped room, and it looks like there's quite a bit to this floor that we're going to be exploring. But that strange L-shaped room, I almost want to say, is possibly this large cavernous area out here. And I'm assuming that there is such a large cavern here because it was probably already here ahead of time, and the place where we're at was probably built inside that cavern. I'm assuming. But yeah, outside of that gun clip, there's not much else to this particular room. So that just pretty much leaves us to try to figure out how to get past those extremely dangerous laser tripwires. Now, obviously, we don't just want to walk right into them. Because thankfully they're not fatal, but they are pretty painful. Instead, we want to take note of the keypad off to the side here. Now, it's been a while since we've had to deal with a numeric keypad, and you might think that, oh, maybe Millie might have an idea of the code. In reality, though, this requires one of those remaining 3 codes from that memo we found so very long ago. And in fact, if my memory serves me correctly, I think it was the first code on there, which I think was 91861.
Password correct. Function restored.
Yeah, simple enough solution. Nothing too mysterious with that. Oh man, this definitely does not look safe. Just the ever-present phantom of, poorly maintained infrastructure.
Another dead end. We can't go this way.
It's the only way. What else can we do?
Jump?
I don't think I can make it. Maybe we can bridge the gap.
I'll take a look around, see if I can find something.
Okay.
Now, this can be especially dangerous because, well, the gap is obviously very large, but if you inspect it, it says to make a running jump, and it means that you need to take a running jump, which is something the game hasn't really required you to do up to this point. So the fact it suddenly requires you to do it now, well, you might not even know that you can do it, honestly. So make sure you get the camera good and ready. But strangely, this is a lot harder than it should be. And yeah, a bit terrifying because they still managed to give out the death yell, even though you do manage to make it, so really, really gives the impression that you probably didn't make it. So it's actually a lot harder than it looks. But yeah, for our keen jumping abilities successfully used, we are given access to all those new rooms. But not before we have another kind of normal combat section. Oof. Still very dangerous if you give them the opportunity. And while it may seem like this is a very similar enemy to one we fought before, I found this one is actually a bit more aggressive and a bit more agile. Like, if you are not as aggressive as you need to be, it will just start jumping circles around you and just really tear into you. Still, as we are successful, we now get to explore, oh, so many rooms. Yeah, compared to just the number of rooms and areas we've had to explore before, this one's probably the most expansive and can be, I don't know, a bit overwhelming considering what we've had to deal with so far. Especially considering it looks like there's even more at the end of the hall here, but it's blocked off by such destruction. Hopefully we can figure out what's beyond there, but for right now, let's just start checking out some of these doors. That's no good. Second time the charm? Well, that's at least something different. It's better than just straight up destroyed, I guess. And final door on this side. Still no good. Also, it's interesting because each one of the rooms does have a name on it, and they are all very Japanese names, which I don't know. Some of the text in the game has been Russian on the computer, so I don't know if this is supposed to be a Russian facility for inexplicable reasons, or, you know, like I said, with the very Japanese-sounding names, if they're... I assume they're probably references to the developers or just people's names from around the studio, but... yeah, I don't really know what the nationality of this place is supposed to be. I mean, for all we know, it could be a multinational, you know, multicultural scientific facility. But hey, we did manage to finally get into a room, which I guess it's pretty good. Nothing super obvious in it, so... and that might initially detract you. You might say, well, there's nothing in here, I'm just gonna leave, but you would be missing out on... nothing. But if we check the bed, I believe... oh, yep, there is something here. It's more bullets. Which is great. I mean, items are great, but also general exploration is great, because... yeah, while this does seem like a large area, it's mostly pretty straightforward. It's not too difficult to navigate. And this room is especially interesting because for some reason, the nameplate is gone. So you could be that this room is empty.
Regarding the counterfeit project.
Counterfeit project?
Letter of protest. It is my deep concern that the National Defense Committee is asserting intolerable pressure on the Lystra Laboratory to redirect our research away from peaceful aims by introducing the ARNA virus into the systems of our cloned subjects. Although evidence suggests the subjects will develop enhanced sensory skills, memory deletion will render the subjects virtual slaves. The only logical application would be to create mindlessly obedient soldiers.
Memory deletion?
I must protest the involvement of the Defense Committee with the Lystra Laboratories on this project. Our goals have always been peaceful, promoting proactive natural genetic advances to help fight disease, enhance stamina and strength, and accelerating the natural development of the human species. Allowing the military to hijack our work would be short-sighted and dangerous. It must not happen. Accordingly, I am demanding an immediate suspension of the counterfeit project. Signed, Millie Azray, Project Associate Director.
Millie wrote this. She's been in on it the whole time.
Bum bum bum. So a bit more backstory about some of the stuff we heard, I think, in the last update, whenever I think Raz had been knocked out and we had to go into the little arboretum / inside forest area. But yeah, so the quote-unquote virus is actually just something to cause a possible mutation in people to heighten their senses and make them stronger, faster, blah blah blah. But I guess it also has the added side effect of kind of possibly making them horrible, mutated, mindless monsters, which could be something beneficial to a military force, to have just super strong, mindless killing machines under, your control. But I don't know, I guess it's good to know at least that Millie was against it, though it is kind of... It still raises my suspicion that she has been lying to us, but I'll get to that hopefully later. For now, we find these 2 random iron rods just kind of sitting in her room. And along with that, inside the dresser drawer here, a stun gun, which I assume is for Millie's own self-defense. I can only assume, knowing that there was the chance for a monstrous outbreak in here, that she wouldn't have a gun just lying around. Instead, she'd probably have a pretty powerful stun gun just ready for her own protection. Also, there was the mention of Project Counterfeit, which I don't know if we really heard anything about that before. Well, technically, I guess the ARNA virus, ARNA, has not really had a code name either, so there's that. But yeah, we now know why they didn't just put, Millie's name outside here. Kind of would have given away the little twist there, I suppose. We got another locked room, and down here at the far end is just a door that isn't locked but just doesn't open. And for our final door, it's another fairly uniform looking little bedroom suite. What really wants to draw our attention is this metal grating here on the floor. Because not only is it an item we can take with us, but it also reveals a hole in the floor. Now, it would be great if we could just go ahead and head down in there, but we do need to make sure that Millie is here with us, and... well, I feel like we do need to kind of confront her about the information we just found out, so let's go see if we can't regroup with her. It does strike me, though, I think there is one more door that we haven't checked out just yet. And it was the one pretty much right in front of us whenever we came in here, which I think was down this way. And believe it or not, the developers were nice enough to put in something of a little mess hall for the people working here. So you have your daily allotment of salt, your vegetable sponge, or your brick of custard. None of them sound very, very appetizing to me, and thankfully for us, they're all out of order. Really, there is only one reason to come into this particular room, and that is for some sweet, sweet strawberries. Even though, as with all the other machines, it's pretty much out of order. But more importantly, behind it, we do find a nice little emergency spray. It is very surprising, but very welcome. So yeah, now that we've... honestly, at this point, we've explored all that we can in the little dormitory area here. And a part of me kind of wants to commend the designers of the game, the level design anyway, because it's not random in any way. It does kind of make sense that, alright, the very bottom, there's some power, it looks like some experiments, the next floor up, probably some more in-depth experiments, and some transportation, I guess, ventilation for the overall facility. And then, almost to the top, you'll find the general sleeping quarters, probably the recreation areas, the mess hall for all the people in the facility. It makes sense to me. It's not like, oh, there's just a random pool next to the cryo facility and the basketball court is next to the atrium. It makes sense to some degree. Let's say that. But yeah. So with our metal rods, we'll go ahead and lay down a nice foundation. And with the metal grating, we can now have something to put on top of the rods.
Millie, come here. You've got to explain something to me. Why is your name on this report? Tell me.
I don't know.
You must have written this report. Why else would your name be on it? It says the virus destroys the subject's memory, but Millie, you were infected, and you still remember it. Are you lying to me? Do you remember this letter? Do you know what this virus is or where we are? Tell me. You know what's going on here, don't you?
No, I don't. I don't remember anything.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't mean to doubt you.
Zeus, you fool! Why didn't you destroy Millie's letter?
I am a computer. I cannot be a fool.
Oh yeah? It was certainly foolish to let him see that.
It is foolish to be concerned over things you cannot change. This information is no use to him.
No use? You're not accounting for human emotions. There's no telling what he may do if he finds out the truth about her. He's unstable. What do you suppose he might do when he realizes she helped make him the way he is?
An interesting query.
It's obvious Millie is one of those who made Raz. If he finds that out...
He may attempt to terminate her.
This game really paints AI in an extremely strange way. They're somewhere between helpful and kind of assholes. Like, that particular AI is Zeus just being incredibly pedantic about, it's just the anger of that shadowy figure. Personally, I wouldn't want to raise that guy's ire because he already seems pretty on edge, all things considering. Also, not super happy that Millie is continuing to lie to old Raz here. Yet again, definitely not a good replacement for Peepo. Peepo never lied to us. Still, now that we have Millie with us, we can drop down underground. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like a tall, spooky vent area. At least we can move a little bit faster down here. And I don't know. Visually, I do find this a bit interesting. They obviously did not have a great, software or they didn't have a good game engine, so I think they tried to do the best they could. And to some degree, it kind of reminds me of, there was a part in Dr. Hauser where they kind of put you into this very similar dark corridor, and that was obviously a lot smaller. And to some degree, I think a lot of these rooms here also kind of remind me of the second floor of Dr. Hauser, where you were just given a whole bunch of rooms suddenly after doing things pretty much very linearly before. But yeah, so we can now access some of the rooms that were previously locked off to us before. And while this room yet again seems a bit barren, it does have this mysterious box in it. So it has an electronic lock that is jammed. It has a key that is broken inside the lock. But Raz does mention the fact that if we had a very strong electrical charge, we could probably break the lock. And what you know, we just so happen to have that stun gun, which is probably a bit too high voltage. Yeah, I think if he hits like a human being with that, they would probably just die. So, it's not really the purpose of a stun gun. For our troubles, though, we do get this hot glue gun, which they call a burner. I assume it's meant to be just like a little welding / blowtorch tool. And we can use it to melt through metal, which might be useful in the case of that grating where we saw that key card before. And while we could go straight for it, there was a little bit more to explore down underneath the floor here. But yeah, there has been a few bits here and there that have kind of, really reminded me of Dr. Hauser. Obviously, it's like I said, a much more larger scale game. The added ability of the fact that they have voice acting means that they can obviously do a lot of voice acted cutscenes and get away from, having so many just handwritten random notes, strewn about the facility or Dr. Hauser's mansion. So that's why it's a bit interesting to me that, as opposed to Resident Evil, which was just absolutely littered with handwritten notes about every random thing, like, hey, I turned into a zombie today, feel itchy, want human flesh, well, see you later, diary. This is at least more plausible, I guess. But yeah, so as we head further down here, we find this grating. And we could make our way outside, but yeah, we don't have a way to get the grating off currently. And since this underground area does run the entire length of the floor, this last little bit down here is where the floor actually kind of curls upwards. And there's definitely a door in what looks like an opening over there. Might be of some use to us. Yeah, there are a few additional little passageways that kind of easily missed. That's why I think they do pop up this text to make sure you get your attention. Yeah, we do have one final way to exit the underground. And as you might recall, this was the far end of the hall that I think had the 2 locked doors and the 1 broken locked door. In fact, this far room here was the door with the broken lock, and it has a pretty important item in it, another laptop. And while this one is broken, it does have something inside. I don't know, it looks like could possibly be a mini disc. It's definitely not a 3 1/4 floppy, because it seemed to have a hard CD disc inside of it. Now we just have to find some place to play it and try to get some information off of it. But that does kind of cover everything we can currently explore in the sleeping quarters area here. I think all total there might be one or two more of these rooms that we'll need to get into, but for right now, we'll just head back to that very loud, watery sounding grating and try to scoop up that key card. Because my assumption is that that key card is going to be for that nearby door that required a new key card. Honestly, nothing too abstract here. Nothing too out of the way, out of left field. Outside of, I'd say, trying to find this particular key card. Where was it? I feel like it was somewhere. There we go. It's a bit strict, but I think if you look really, really close, you can kind of see where the little geo that you can cut out is pretty obvious. Yeah, we do find a key card. Also, I think next to the rock here. I think it's next to this rock. Is an item down here. Sorry, Millie. Didn't mean to phase into you there. There we go. Yep, another clip of bullets. Also, we can see the natural indoor spring that's causing all the burbling going on. But that's kind of all we can do down here is get that key card, so let's go ahead and open up that door up here.
A card key. A lot of good it is without its lock.
Maybe... Raz! Fight it, Raz!
Millie, I can't go on. I'm losing it, Millie.
Raz!
Run, Millie. Get away from me.
Disengaging door lock.
Poor Raz. I will cure you, I promise.
Success. The subject has survived the transformation. A fully integrated biogenic unit.
Success? Disaster! He almost killed Millie!
Analysis suggests perfect physical transformation, though mental functions would seem to require fine-tuning.
Fine-tuning? He's completely out of his mind!
Precisely. Just what the military ordered. We must preserve this subject for refinement.
I say there is no need. There is no need. I'm not interested in him. I want him dead. It's Millie that we've got to save.
Viral extraction mode initiated. Scanning for ARNA virus. virus has been extracted. No viruses detected.
Raz, can you understand me?
Yes. Millie? Millie, what happened?
It's going to be okay now. Look.
It's cleared up.
That's right. Perfectly normal.
But how?
I removed it. You're healed.
You removed the virus?
Of course. I promised you, didn't I?
How did she know how?